Hello, in this video we'll take a look at .NET timelines, .NET version releases and all that sort of stuff. We are waiting for .NET 9 to come out. Currently we are on .NET 8. At least you should be trying to get there, right? At least at .NET 8, because when you're using an out-of-date or out-of-support rather version of .NET or .NET Framework, you might encounter several problems. Of course, the first thing and thing that people talk about the most would be the security vulnerabilities. That certainly does exist, and that can create many problems. However, there are more things alongside that, such as, for example, compatibility with different operating system versions, with different arrangements that would interact with your .NET or .NET Framework platform. Those problems can certainly happen, and creating some workaround to make that compatible with those older versions can be very tricky, and that is getting to the next point, why you should try to keep up to date with .NET or .NET Framework. Try to get at least to the version that is currently in support, and the final sort of reason would be you need to have something current so you can work easily on it. Everything matches, that's great. Once you start working with legacy applications, if you've ever done that, you will know finding resources to solve certain problems or adding something new can be extremely tricky, especially when we get very old Windows Forms applications, or even worse, web forms for the web applications. It can be extremely tricky to work with. Also, the performance most likely will not be there anymore with especially very old versions such as .NET Framework 4.5 or .NET Core versions, earlier ones especially. So it is a great idea to actually update. And if you don't have too many libraries involved, too many things involved, usually it doesn't take that much time to actually do that. Again, depending on the size, depending on the scale of your platform, it can certainly be done quite easily. Also, if your platform is split up into different pieces, you might start doing that those updates in different parts, because even if you run on a certain server on Windows servers, you can still use or rather run several different versions of .NET, of .NET Framework or .NET Core. You can certainly do that, so you can update essentially bit by bit without having to do the whole work all at once. Now, getting to the hosting part, you will of course need to install certain versions. In these pages you will find the .NET, and there is also another page that would be for .NET Framework. Now, the current version of .NET Framework is going to be in support for a very long time, 4.8, but basically anything from say 4.72 would be perfectly fine to still use. You don't really need to go in and update. That is all perfectly fine. Now, if you are on .NET Framework 3.5, I would actually suggest looking into updating at this point, especially if you're still planning to use the application for a very long time. In this page, you can also see there's out-of-support versions. Downloading and installing them and using them might be great if you just take over a legacy application, but my suggestion would always be to immediately at least attempt to update to one of the in-support versions. It might actually be quite easy to do. You might just need to install a few things, flip a switch essentially, and it will be there. Perhaps a few changes in the code. If it doesn't involve all those fancier features, it might actually be very easy to do. So once you get the project like that, you might just try and do that and see if you have also access to the servers and to all those things, because that will need to be updated as well to support these frameworks. So that is something to consider. You look at the code and you look at the places where the code is actually running, because if you update something and that place, whether it be a computer or a server, is not up to date with these frameworks, the runtimes are not there, it simply won't work. It will have a problem. Now, getting to the server part, with the .NET Framework, it's relatively straightforward, but you probably wouldn't run .NET Framework apps on servers, and I wouldn't really recommend using .NET Framework in general at this point. .NET 8 or .NET 9 soon offers great things, and it's probably a preferable option, especially when you host on servers. It would probably be a better choice to match different things, your websites and those different arrangements, and of course the serverless support is probably a bit better as well. Now, at the moment, we have the .NET 8. It is in the long-term support. It's clearly stated 3 years of support. So it will be out of support in 2026. Now, we still have a bit to go, a couple of years. And if you are currently developing an application, you can probably go with, certainly go with .NET 8. Because .NET 9 is still in release candidate stage. I don't recommend doing release candidates. There can be some weird problems from that, and if you're building a very large application, you certainly don't want to deal with sort of random weird errors that don't make much sense and basically just require to reinstall a few things to make it run. Now, they have gotten more stable, these release candidates, over the years, but I still wouldn't recommend it. It's better to get started with .NET 8 and then switch to .NET 9 as soon as possible. Now, the problem with .NET 9, it is going to be a standard support, so it's only going to be 18 months, meaning that it will only add about a year of extra support after the .NET 8 is out of support. So it's really a decision of whether you want some of those .NET 9 features, which there aren't really that many of. .NET 8 was a major update, especially for things like Blazor and all those web arrangements. So sticking to .NET 8 might actually be a decent idea right now. However, you wouldn't want to consider .NET 6, and you wouldn't want to consider .NET 7. That's out of support now, so do keep that in mind. Right now, you either go with .NET 8, or maybe you can wait for a month until .NET 9 comes out in its full version. It's not that long left. Now, if we go to .NET 8, you will see lots of downloading arrangements. So if for some reason you install your Visual Studio and you don't have this sort of support for that particular version, you will probably have the latest one right away. But if you don't, you will need the SDK. So that's for building, running the apps. You need the SDK. Now, if you want to run basically applications on your computer and possibly on server, you'll need either the desktop runtime and or the .NET runtime. So you can use .NET 8 runtime essentially. That's perfectly fine. For development, you want to use SDK. Just for running stuff, you need .NET 8 runtime. However, if you are hosting on Windows Server, so you have some IIS stuff, and even if you don't just have IIS, you might have some Windows services running alongside that, or some other things running alongside that. What you really want to get is this hosting bundle. So that will basically include everything you need to run those .NET 8 applications, and the same will be for .NET 9 and for all the other versions. So if you are doing things on a Windows server, you are getting hosting bundle, install that, and it will have the whole support for everything. So again, right now, look for either .NET 8 or possibly for .NET 9, and if you really need the .NET framework for whatever reason, personally, I would recommend just going with .NET 9. But if you're looking at that, obviously go with the latest version as late as possible. And with that said, we will conclude this video.